Hello, everybody. It is Friday, July 16th. Happy Stampede. Yahoo!
Yahoo!
Was that a Wahoo or a Yahoo?
A little bit of a Yahoo. We learned it's not Yeehaw, it's Yahoo officially for Stampede, right?
Well, I could have told you that. I've been a volunteer for many years. I decided not to volunteer this year with everything that's going on, but it's definitely Yahoo. I can tell you that for a fact. But anyway, I hope everyone, if you've got out to Stampede, great. If not, that's fine too. But I hope you're really enjoying your summer. Kids are off school. It's been a few weeks now, actually, and hope you're enjoying it. The hot weather, hopefully the smoke will go away. But we have an interesting report for you today, and I think what we'll see is some continuation, a little bit of last week's stats, a little bit of a bump up. So why don't we just show those stats to you right off the bat here and take a look at our last week in real estate. Stampede week. So prior to, obviously, this last week, we had Canada Day, which I think when we're looking at the stats here affected our stats more than Stampede has. Not a huge surprise. Most people would take Canada Day off, maybe a long weekend. Stampede, I think this year it's just very, very different. Even just driving downtown, it's not the normal busyness you would see during Stampede. So we had 430 new listings in the past week, detached, 323 solds, 136 pendings for a total of 459 sold and pending for a net difference of plus 29. So a little bump up from last week. And again, this is a week-by-week thing, and certainly this is not, an analyst's perspective, but I think we're kind of settling into our regular summer market in Calgary and area. So not a huge surprise there, but a little bump up from last week. What I find interesting is our total detached listings actually went down slightly. Now, that can be a few things, right? What we don't have on here is listings that terminated or expired, things like that. Seeing a lot more price reductions. I think there was a total of 279 price reductions in the last week. I don't have the stats to compare. It just seems like a little bit of a high number for me compared to maybe a couple of months ago. So there's our net difference. Our total detached listings sit at 3,046, which is actually slightly down from last week. But again, if you look at these, there's my mouse right there. So look at that the last 5 weeks. I mean, we went from 3,008 to a high of 3,053 last week. Now we're back down to 3,046 for the detached side. So we've been staying fairly steady. There's my hand, steady, over the past 4 or 5 weeks here, and total listings of 6642. And again, if you look at 5 weeks ago, 6627, it got up to 6667, 6630. So our listings, both total listings and detached listings, have stabilized. What we're seeing is a decrease in sales really over the past few weeks here. If we look at our solds, just to get into this a little bit more, solds right here, we had a high there on June, and that's typical, right? When I say to my clients, our spring market typically lasts until the middle of June. I was fairly close here because we started to see a decline the week after the middle of June, and then more of a decline, almost 80 down from 2 weeks prior there. And then the real decline happened that first week of July. And then we're kind of, we're 50 up from last week. But that is traditionally what happens in the Calgary real estate market. And I think we're getting back to a little bit of a normal, at least in real estate. So that is kind of the weekly stats picture. We're back to a bit of a normal. What does this mean for you? Again, we say this every week. I think there's still a great opportunity to sell a home. And what you just need to do is, I was chatting with a really good realtor friend of mine yesterday, and we both said, the best marketing is having the price right on the first day of the listing, not on the 7th day of the listing, not on the 14th day of the listing. The pricing has to be right off the bat. Seller's market, buyer's market, it does not matter. And I love this line too. I'm going to share it with you. And it's a little cheeky. I'll tell you that right now. Somebody once said, want better marketing, and what can you do for marketing? And We need better marketing for our listing. And a broker at another brokerage said once, well, the biggest sign in the world doesn't make dumber buyers, something along those lines. But the point being is it's all about the price. And I say this all the time. This is actually a quote from my cousin. If it's not the price, it's the price, right? There's always a price that you can sell your home. Of course, now you're saying, well, of course, Mark, yeah, I could put 100 grand under market value. I'm not talking 100 grand under market value. I'm talking about just being priced right from the beginning. And because your first 2 weeks of your listing are the highest for internet views, for showings, all that stuff happens in the first 2 weeks. All right. Enough of me preaching, Jayden. No, what's going on? What's going on in your world?
Yeah, well, I think I'll touch on what you just said, actually, because I see it on the back end, right? So I have clients who, just put in an accepted offer on a place that the place has been listed for 6 weeks at 340, came down to 325 after that 6 weeks, and now my client's got an accepted offer with this property at 315. Yeah. And what's interesting about that is that if they would have listed at 325 6 weeks ago, there was likely a good chance to get it 325. But realtors are smart, buyers are smart. They see that you've taken that price down because you want to move it. Yeah. And so I would say it was probably an error on the listing realtor's part that he listed where he did at that time, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I see it on the back end. But what I do want to talk about today, I was having an interesting conversation with a client today, referral from a great client of mine that I've worked with in the past that sent this couple on my way, and he said, I've been doing a little bit of research myself. Why shouldn't I go with the big box store that churns out mortgage after mortgage after mortgage, rather than you? And I said, actually, I know their product pretty good. That big box store is a good fit for a certain type of client. The reason you would go with me is because we're talking about this strategy that I'm finding to be very, very successful right now, where we do a 5-year variable, because that's just far and away the best rate that's out there right now. But we know that we can lock that 5-year variable into a fixed at any time during that 5-year term, right? Yeah. So if a year from now, I'm watching the market, bless you. I'm watching the market and I see that, maybe it's looking like there might be some movement on interest rates, and that 4-year fixed is still a pretty great rate. And now that you've been in the house for a year, we're confident that you're going to be there for the next 4 years. I'm going to call you and say, listen, this is what I'm seeing happening with rates. Let's have a discussion about locking in your variable into a fixed, right? And so if you go for that big box store, you'll hear from them again, but it'll be 5 years from the last time you heard from them, looking at switching you out into something new, right? So I guess that's where the value is. We like to look at rate as one component of value, but the overall component of value to us is, how do I pay the least amount of money possible on this mortgage over the 25 or hopefully less years of amortization? Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great point, and I think to extrapolate that into the real estate side, because there's tons of teams out there. There's the mega teams, there's the medium-sized teams, and then there's the smaller teams, and for sure, many of them do a great job. I think what you get with Jayden and I is this really personalized service, and you get communication, and you have people that really truly care about your best interest, right? We're not there to sell you a mortgage. We're not there to sell you a house. We're there to help you acquire your mortgage, acquire that house. And, sometimes to our detriment maybe, but I'm okay with that. I think you are too. Yeah. We want to work with people that want to work with us. And, but no, it's such a great point. It's, and getting back to your other point about, listing a home right at this time, an older client of mine who I met with yesterday, we're talking about listing his property, and I said, people, just we're having a conversation, and but all the data that's available to us as realtors. And he goes, Mark, I think it all changed with the MLS system and the ability to research data and to go, well, no, this whole house sold for this, that house sold for that. And that's why pricing to me is the most pricing,
a great description and great photos and measurements are the best marketing that we can do for your home. And some people will say, well, Mark, that's a cop-out because, so-and-so will do this and this and this and this. It does not matter. A great drone video won't make a dumber buyer. It's such a great line, but it's true. It's true. People won't overpay for a home because it's got a lift in the garage, right? It still has to, there's all those different scenarios we can play out, and we don't have time for it all today, but it's so true. But anyway, I interrupted your mortgage minute, but I just wanted to interject with that because it really is the best thing you can do is, and I'm a rip the Band-Aid off kind of guy. I joke about that all the time to my clients, right? And I think you are as well. It's like, here's what it is. Here's the truth of it. And, do you want to move forward or not, right? So.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when you talk about, and I don't think you interrupted, you were helping out my point. When you talk about us being, like, we're in this relationship for the long term, right? Like you want to put your clients in the right house, and then when they're ready to move up, sell that house for them and find the next right house for them. Whether that's 2 years from now or 12 years from now. And I think I'm the same way with the mortgage side, right? We're hopefully having, creating a long-term relationship where you're not only going to hear from us when it's time to sell and buy and do all that stuff. We'll be there in between as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, that's about 11 minutes worth of us jabbering around, but interesting market again this week. It continues we're certainly not completely flattened out. I think we're seeing a regular summer downturn in Calgary, but certainly reach out. I think now is a great time to be thinking about selling your home in fall, right? We're mid-July. We can start having the conversation. What does it look like? What do you need to do? What do you need to get done, right? Oftentimes there's a little bit of painting or touch-ups. My wife, Natalie, comes in, gives you staging advice, and you might need to move some things around. And now is a great time to start having those conversations. On the buying side, start talking to Jaden. The worst thing that we can do as realtors is take out buyers that aren't pre-qualified, because we're going to end up having you fall in love with a house that you can't buy. Right? So get pre-approved. Now is a great time for that. Things are maybe slower for you at work or whatever. It doesn't matter. Now is a great time. Start thinking about it for fall or now. That's fine too. But now is especially on the selling side, when we get back into our fall market, we're going to have more buyers out there. But having said that, I will say that the buyers that are out there now are probably very serious because there are less of them. All right, Jaden, you have a great weekend, and happy last weekend to Stampede to everybody out there. Enjoy it, and we will talk to you all next week. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, guys. Thanks.